think that my career is done.
I've done a routine since, I don't even know what year that was.
Do you have any ongoing issues with any other people in the industry?
Of course.
As long as you're there, nobody's winning that over you.
When you have super high expectations for someone, even second place makes them a loser.
You've won the best poser at Arnold Classic 2 years, right? You got 2 titles. I've heard an interview you said as long as you're there, nobody's winning that over you. Is that because you think people can pose as well as you do?
When I said that, yes, because there was nobody doing any routines. Josh Nardowitz was the only person doing the routines. Now I still believe it. I'm not going to lose, but it's not because I'm like better than anyone. I just feel like I study old routines more than anyone. I care more about the classical part of the eras. But now Andrew's a good poser. Samson's a great poser. There's a lot of good posers out there. So it would make the win a lot more valuable in March when I win it. But when I said it, yeah, it was both. Because no one, it's not like anyone was bad. They just don't put effort into it. Because realistically, and this is what I realized too after that last show, the way it used to be, bodybuilding, was you were judged for your routine, got points for it. And if it ever was like up to a tie or really close, that guy who gave you a better performance gets the win. I don't think you should win because you did more posing than anyone else. You shouldn't beat someone that looks better than you. But if it's close, give it to the person who obviously on that 7th day when everyone's resting, that person's practicing the routine. And I think I got 6th place at that Arnold, and it was like by a point or 2. So if my posing's not even giving me a couple points, and that's why I didn't do a routine ever since then. I have not done a routine since, I don't even know what year that was, 2022.
You mentioned something that was 2021, the Arnold Classic, you got 6th place.
21, right?
21, yeah. You mentioned something a few minutes ago. You said that people think that my career is done. You said something to that extent. Why do you think people think that?
Because that's just how it is now. It's like, who's hot? If you're not young and your career is over, there's no way that there's no way that you just have some issues going on. And as soon as you fix them, you're going to get back on stage and you're going to kill it. People don't believe that because it sounds like an excuse. But luckily, the most motivating thing in my career is starting my career with Sean Roden. I think being around someone who also was forgotten, written off. I mean, after he did that guest posing in Pittsburgh, everyone said he was done. Everyone. Sean Ray did a whole report about how he's embarrassing the sport of bodybuilding because he looked so bad. Now, is this guy going through divorce? Is he going through hard times? Of course. And for some reason, everyone who watches the sport also has that thing. They get let off from their job, they get divorced, they have financial issues, and then they can just sit around the house and not do anything. But then when it happens to a bodybuilder, it's like an excuse, or it's like, oh, he's done. And now watching Sean, and I think because I was able to see really what he did look like behind the scenes, he looked really bad. He looked really bad. And then he won the Olympic. Right. So every time that someone wants to tell me that I'm old, even though I'm not even 40 yet, people don't know that I've had injuries that have been messing up my training that now are okay. People don't know that I went through depression. They don't know that I went through divorce. They don't know anything about you because they really don't care. And then what they do is they come up with their own consensus of you and your status, and then they just write you off. But Vlad, between me and you, I actually love it. This is probably the best I've ever felt. Obviously, I feel the best because my life is good, my relationship is good, my life, my finances, everything is good, so I can just do bodybuilding like a normal person. But I love not having any hype around me. I have no pressure. When I did New York, people said I wasn't going to win my pro card, and then they said there's no way I'm going to win a pro show. So going into that show, nobody was saying I was going to win. Besides me being broke as hell and everything that I went through to get to New York, everything was fine. There was no like, I got 2nd place in Chicago, and people were laughing about how much of a loser I was. It's 2nd place at a pro show in Chicago. But what it is because when you have super high expectations for someone, even second place makes them a loser.
Mhm.
And that's something that I had to learn in the sport as I got older, that I'm not doing anything wrong. And they're also not doing it. Because, like, look at LeBron's son. I automatically, in my head, think he should win an NBA championship.
Right.
And now, if he doesn't, he's now somehow a loser. But he could be richer than anyone I know. He could be living the best lifestyle that we know. But because he didn't do what his father did, he's now somehow less. And so now, is something wrong with me for thinking that? If there is, I mean, if there's not, then there's not anything wrong with anyone else thinking that about me. And I get it. I think half have expectations. Everybody has expectations, right? Half have expectations because they actually generally want me to do well. And so when I don't, it's kind of like a letdown. It's just like your team losing, the championship, and you're like, oh, like I do it too. Like the Bears lose a game, and I'm like, the Bears, we suck. Do I dislike that? No, of course not. So, and that's something that I had to learn getting older. Now, there's a ton of people that actually just generally want me to not do well.
Why is that? Why you think they want you to do well?
I think it's a combination of people who are very unhappy in their own life, and there's nothing you can do about them. But also, I think a big majority of the social media, if you say something, especially if you say someone's not going to do something or someone sucks, now if they start to do well, it makes you seem like you are wrong. And nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody in this world wants to be wrong. So if I say, this person is never going to win a show, and then they win a show, and then I say, well, yeah, but the lineup was weak, and then they go do a harder show with the lineup's really hard. Like when I lost to Arnold, I only lost to Dexter, Bonac, Rami. They're all Arnold Classic champions in this Olympics. So now I'm in a harder lineup, and I get fifth, but now I got fifth. Now I'm a loser. So it's a combination of people who you can't change them. They're unhappy people. But then there's also people who just don't want to be wrong. And then the more that you do well, or the more you do things, or whatever it is, they just don't pay attention to those. But then as soon as you do something bad, or you don't place well, then they focus on that entirely. And now I've been a pro for like 8 years. If you do that for that long, you're only going to remember the bad, and you block out all the good, and you're going to have in your head, I don't know why there's so much hype about this person. This person sucks. And that's another thing too, is that, I talk about it with Regan a lot, because Regan gets it a lot.
Did you guys make up? You had a fallout with him at one point. I remember that.
Yeah, it was just that he was saying that Asita was making him unhealthy, and open bodybuilding was unhealthy. Like that was squashed as soon as he came back to open and realized that was just all bullshit, what was going on in Oxygen and everything that happened with them. But I relate with him a lot because he has so many followers, right? So people will look at that and say, oh, I don't get why he has all those followers. And automatically you have this dislike towards him. But did he do anything wrong? Is he just getting up and going to the gym and doing the same things everybody else is? So it's like the same thing with me, that people only see me as my dad's son. So that's how they're always going to see me. And if I don't do something the way that they want, then it's just like, I don't like this guy. So
do you get involved in back and forth on social media with people? Do you do the back and forth?
the only time that I'll do any kind of back and forth is if they're commenting on my page.
Right. But you would respond. You would respond to a hater, for example.
Yeah, but I used to respond back like, you're a bitch, f you type of shit. And now, because I know that I'm a good bodybuilder, and I definitely know that I'm a good person. So anyone saying anything I know isn't true. So anything that I say back to them is more of like a clever, like making them look like a fool, rather than an all-out trying to fight somebody who comments on an Instagram.
Did you have a issue with Nick Walker at one point back in like 20 something, where it was an article, right, about you, and you were I think it was an information where you decided not to do the show, and you said this person leaked the information, but it was unclear who you were talking about. It wasn't Nick Walker.
Oh yes, so that was when I was doing my own supplement company, and I had a lot of like engagements in it. It was in Atlanta that year. They had like moved the show there.
2020, it was 2021, I think. You made a video about it, but it was unclear, but people said it was Nick Walker that you were talking about.
Well, what it was is that I had a bunch of business stuff that I was going to get set up in that town. And so I knew that if I wasn't doing the show, that's how it is. You don't do shows, you don't win shows, people don't care about you. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get to Atlanta, do those obligations, do those appearances, and then just not do the show. And I had told Nick that I wasn't doing the show, and then he talked about it on Quad's show. And then that was more because Nick is a friend of mine and Quad is a friend of mine. And so them talking about my business without even asking me, it just was something I was upset about. I absolutely regret making a post about it because I just didn't need to. But it's like the same thing with you. Making decisions while you're dieting is like rule number one. You just don't do. You don't make really big decisions while you're dieting. You're not in the right headspace. And even though everything that I'm saying is true, I'm not lying, it's still just, it doesn't need to be public. And the same thing that I told Quad is that if Nick wasn't going to do New York, or he had heard that, he would have absolutely texted Nick, hey man, is this true? And no one texted me, no one asked me anything. So it was just me being butthurt that two of my friends were just talking about something. And then I missed out a lot financially. And then that definitely played into me being upset and anger. But again, did Nick do anything wrong to me? Did he try and do this to hurt me? No, exactly. So yeah, me and Nick are cool. There wasn't anything like that. I definitely doubted him as a bodybuilder. And you know, he's definitely someone who's proved a lot of people wrong, including me. And now we're cool for sure.
Do you have any ongoing issues with any other people in the industry? Because I know you butt some heads with some people before, like the guys I just mentioned. But are you cool with everybody right now? You think?
Yeah, and even when we butt heads, it's like it's like a competition level, like how it used to be back in the day at the press conference. It's not like anyone's talking about anyone personally. I think that's like a big line to cross. I think if you're like, I'm gonna beat your ass, like on stage, I'm gonna beat you, that's great. But if you start bringing up people's family or personal stuff or stuff people don't know about, then you're just a scumbag. And this is something I talked about on a couple of shows. Is I don't think we're gonna see a lot more beats in the open division anymore. Because I think when it was just open division, we had these great rivalries. I mean, you would see Craig Titus about to fight someone at the press conference, and it was very exciting. And not that I'm complaining, because it only makes our paychecks go up, but now there's way more classes in the sport. And a lot of open guys, especially the 212 guys, I feel the worst for them because they work just as hard and eat just as much as the open guys and kill their bodies just as much as us. They have to watch these Men Physiques, Classic, and even just these YouTubers make so much more money than them. And I was talking about with Jay too, all these clothing companies, they don't make clothes for us. So all the new clothing companies, Gymsharks, the LA, they're made for the Men's Physique Classic guys. So no matter what, if I'm an open guy now, let's say it's very hard for me to dislike someone now because I know what they go through to be an open bodybuilder. But let's just say I don't like somebody and I see someone attacking them, I stick up for them because I know how hard an open bodybuilder actually has to do more than everyone else. That there's just no way we're going to have beefs in the open anymore. Even a couple times if somebody says something to each other, you'll see them backstage. They're cool. It's just on social media. I think there's more beefs with the classes. I think we might see someone saying, you know, classic guys like Phil when he was saying that they're just weekend warriors. I think we're going to see more beefs like that than we are in the class itself. Unfortunately, it's just, yeah, you can't dislike someone when I know what they're going through.
Did you make a conscious decision to hurt yourself?
Yes, this whole divorce and infidelity and affairs and stuff, of course, that's going to make anyone upset.
You went through being in prison there.
Boo-hoo, I'm all sad.
You were going through a serious depression.
If you don't do shows, people forget about you. They start to write you off.